yesterday was by far the most fascinating and long postseason wrap up I've ever really taken in, man. And you were there, and I listened to it in its entirety as well. And there is so much to unpack. If I'm being honest with you, I think that this is far more interesting than talking about the playoff games.
Yes. Yeah.
So here we are. There is a lot to sort through after Dave Dombrowski's comments yesterday at Citizens Bank Park. So I'll bring you in here, and you tell me where you want to start, because I have a whole list of things to run through.
Well, I think we got to start, and it's thus the title of the episode. I think we got to start with Dombrowski's comments about Bryce Harper, which blew me away. Like he talked for 54 minutes, and then Rob, I think it was like 32. So all told, we got an hour and a half of press conference yesterday, which was, it's an exorbitantly long time, right? I mean, we never get that much time with people. And so that's why it was fascinating to me. But I really felt that there was a lot of directness from Dombrowski towards the players. And we've not seen that kind of in the past. And the one with Bryce, I thought was the most intriguing, because here's your superstar who's in the middle of his 13-year contract, right? Going into year 8 now, right? He's got 6 years left. They've done 7 years, 6 left. Smack dab in the middle, and he's questioning whether or not Bryce Harper will be elite again. And I'm sitting there saying, is he really saying this right now? Like, I don't know. Is it a shot across the bow? Is he trying to motivate him to be more than he was in 2025? Look, we talked about 2025 being a weird year for Harper, right? Like, if you erase or cover his name and just look at the stats, you go, oh, that's a pretty good baseball player, right? 3-WAR baseball player, 844 OPS, 27 home runs in 132 games. That's a pretty good season for a baseball player. He's still top 25 in the league in OPS, like legitimately good player. But then you put Bryce Harper's name in front of it and go, it's just And so, like, are they trying to motivate him, or are they questioning now, have we seen the best of Bryce Harper? And he made a comparison to Freddie Freeman, which was interesting because Freddie Freeman's 3 years older than Bryce, right? Or almost 4 years older than Bryce, 3.5 years. And if you look back at Freddie Freeman's age 32 year, he hit 59 doubles, was 4th in the National League in MVP voting. Mm-hmm. And then in his age 33 year, he was even better. He was 3rd in MVP voting. And if you look at him this year, 2025, at age 36, his numbers were better than Bryce this year at age 32. So I'm not sure if you're trying to say Bryce has just taken a tiny step back like Freeman has, comparing his age 32 to his age 36, or you're trying to say that Bryce can still be that good and just wasn't this year. I don't know what the message was, but it was crazy.
So there were a couple different ways that I think you can unpack it. First of all, nothing that Dave Dombrowski said during that press conference yesterday was factually incorrect, in my opinion. I thought he spoke a lot of truth. I was not in love with everything that he said. I would push back on some of what he said, but when you just look at the facts of it, I think there's a lot of truth in many of the things that he said, including what he said about Bryce Harper, which is that he's a good player. He is not elite at the moment. You know, it'll be up to him whether or not he becomes elite again. And he's not sure if he'll be elite again. And in real time, it's certainly a remarkable thing to hear. I mean, you just don't hear executives talk about franchise players with such honesty. And if you wanted to look at it from a more constructive standpoint, you would say, yeah, perhaps it is a challenge to Bryce Harper, or perhaps it is saying to him, hey, we do need more out of you, and it's going to be on you to do more, because if we're going to get to where we want to go ultimately with this iteration of this team, and you can tweak and you can talk about the upcoming free agents, you're going to need Bryce Harper to be better in bigger moments as well. But I think about it, and I think about the type of player that Bryce Harper is and the type of mentality that Bryce Harper has. And is Bryce Harper really the guy that needs an external motivation? Is he a guy that needs to be challenged publicly like that? And I don't think that he is. And so I don't know that was what Dave Dombrowski's angle was in making those comments. I kind of think that Dave was maybe just a little bit underwhelmed with Bryce, like everyone was this year, and just sort of put it out there. I just don't know that it was a challenge, and I don't know that I look at it from a standpoint that he's trying to get more out of Bryce. I think he was just being like, hey, like Bryce wasn't that player this year, and I don't know that he's going to be that player ever again. Or if you want to go a little bit more sinister, they're not thrilled with Bryce Harper about something else, whether it be lingering impact of that contract extension request 2 years ago, whether maybe there's something behind the scenes about his day-to-day behaviors. Is it possible that they did not love the on-field energy at times this year? We questioned it. We've talked about it on this show. Hey, is Bryce Harper fully there right now? He doesn't seem to be playing with his hair on fire. He doesn't have the juice. He doesn't have that fire in his belly that we see or we've seen in the past from him. Is it more of like a tap to that? Like he is what he is as a player, but where the hell is he as a leader? Where is he as a fiery player that makes a difference, in terms of a team's chemistry and its makeup? And I wonder if it's more about that than it is, hey, can Bryce Harper hit 38 home runs and be a top 5 MVP type player again?
Yeah, no, I think it was a challenge. I think it was basically like, we've capitulated to you in so many different ways over the course of your first 7 years with us. And now we need you to capitulate to us a little bit. Right. And I think that's kind of that transitional mode. Like, look, you were not the most important player for this team this year. Yeah. You were not. There were others that were more important than you. We need you to get back to the status of being the most important player for us. You can't just be a guy along for the ride, as talented as you are. And I think that's what it is. Again, I don't think it was an outright gauntlet being thrown down. But I think it was a message sender for sure.
Well, I think the other question is, I wonder how that, and maybe the more important thing in all of this was, how was that received? Because if you're Bryce Harper and you tune into that yesterday and you say, all right, well, we're bringing back Topper, we're bringing back the coaching staff, which I want to talk about in a minute. And you're doing all these things. And then you hear those comments. Do you go, all right, heard, and then, do something about it? Or do you kind of go down this road where you're Bryce Harper and you sit there and you listen to Dave Dombrowski say that and you say, you fucking kidding me? You're going to say that about me?
Well, that's interesting because it could be either. Right? It really could be. Like he's the kind of guy who he lets you know that he knows what his status is, but he's also the kind of guy who likes to accept the challenge or likes that those motivating factors. I mean, we've seen it, right? Yeah. The whole, good job Harper thing, right? And like that lit the fuse. And anytime fans call him overrated, he goes out and hits a home run and then chirps back at the fan. So like he's motivated in that way, but he's also Bryce Harper. And it's like, you don't challenge Bryce. So it could be either one, Bob. That's what's fascinating about this. And I'm not sure we're going to hear from him until February. Like really, I guess there's a possibility that some national outlet gets him to come on and talk over the winter and he says something there. But we may not hear anything until the first day of spring training in February, when all the Philadelphia reporters in Clearwater will then say to him, so Bryce, this is what Dombrowski said at the end of the season. What do you say to that now? And he'll have some well thought out and rehearsed answer that he took 4 months to construct. But that's when it might be that we hear from him.
Well, I have a pretty definitive feeling about this, but I'm driving around this morning. I dropped my kids off at the in-laws and my daughter goes to school, and I'm in the car for 90 minutes in the morning. So I turn on WIP and I'm like, all right, let's take in what the talk is here. I don't really subscribe to this, but I think it at least warrants being floated on the show, given what we're talking about. Is there any world where the Phillies would just say, like, listen, we're saying what it is. If Bryce doesn't like it, maybe we can enter a conversation about waiving a no trade clause, and we'll explore that. I will just follow up my question by saying I don't think that I would say if you said 1 to 100, I'd say like 1/2 of 1 on that scale. But, is there anything to this where they're like, you know what, let's challenge him to the degree that we would say, like, let's try to perk his ears up a little bit where he considers maybe taking this elsewhere?
Not now. No, I'm with you that there's in my mind, there is no world where they're moving on from Bryce Harper, trying to move on from Bryce Harper this season. Now, is it planting a seed for down the line? For if this doesn't go well, if he continues to be a mediocre, melancholy, mercurial, any M word you can think of, superstar, then then maybe that's the seed being planted. But I don't think this is one of those situations where it's like, hey, Bryce, we're challenging you. If you don't like it, waive your no trade clause. We'll send you somewhere else.
Right.
Like, I don't think that's the plan here.
Do you think that he would get 6 years, $180 million in the open market right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do. And not only that, that's what makes this contract so friendly for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Like, why would
I know we're all sitting here like a little bit underwhelmed by Bryce Harper, but I think about it, I'm like, he's got 6 years left at $30 million per. Like, this is still a good deal for them, even in this moment.
Yeah, and his AAV is lower than that. Like, I think it's like 25, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, that's so worth it. It's a very, very affordable, friendly, team friendly contract.